Hey everyone, today we'll be doing a drafting guide for ADC in solo queue. In our time, we've seen a lot of average players picking champs that really hamstring them right from the start of the game, making the game way harder before it even starts. Beyond that, we've had a lot of questions about whether you should be picking what's strongest in lane, mid-game, scaling for late, team fights, synergizing with your teammates, countering the enemy comp, and even more. There are so many distractions and holes that you can go down during draft. So, today, we want to simplify that all and give you simple, easy to follow guidelines that will help you succeed during champ select. Let's jump into it. Okay, so after consulting with top 10 challenger ADC main on EU West, Cookie, we feel confident that we've nailed down the 3 key things that you should be considering during draft. First up, we have synergizing with your support. This is the main thing that our challenger consultant wanted to emphasize. Having an ADC and support who have the same goals succeed in the same way. We'll let you know which ADCs and supports work together best later in the video so that you can pull this off. Obviously, you will have to pick before your support basically half the time, so you won't always be able to do this, but when you can, it's a big deal. Second, we have not picking into an enemy bot lane that will make your life difficult. Once again, we'll dig into how to do this later, obviously understanding that depending on where you're picking in the draft, this may or may not be possible. Alright, for our third main consideration during draft phase, we have balancing your team's damage between AP and AD. Cookie considers it essential to have AP bot laners in your champ pool, as having too much AD is just a nightmare and a very easy way to lose a game. So one of the issues that is already probably pretty obvious is that for those 3 tips, a lot of it relies on being able to see your support in the enemy bot lane, which is obviously not always going to be the case. You will often have to blind pick or close to it. So it's very important that you know which champions you can blind pick without trolling, and you can see those here. Ezreal is currently the absolute god tier blind pick as he does it all. He can function well with almost any support, play against pretty much any lane, deal with any enemy team comp, he does it all. But if you don't play Ezreal or you're bored of playing him every game, or if they picked him or banned him, these other champions are all viable blind picks that will work decently with most supports and generally hold their own in lane. And as a quick side note, one of the things that makes Varus such a solid blind pick is that he can run lethality against squishy comps or build to shred tanks if he needs to as well. Again, ideally you won't have to blind pick, but when you do, we strongly encourage you to stick with these options. Alright, now that we've talked about blind picking, let's jump back into our 3 primary considerations for drafting, starting with synergizing with your support. Let's start off by looking at which support champions are played most often in silver and above, so that we can focus on telling you how to pick and synergize with champions that you'll actually see. And starting with the most popular support in the game, we have Thresh. With Thresh, Syndra, Kalista, Aphelios, Varus, MF, Draven, and Tristana all work well. Obviously, Thresh is a classic support who can set up kills, so picking an ADC with CC or lots of early game damage to pair with that is very strong. Next, we have everyone's favorite champion, Yuumi. For this one, we'll keep it simple. If you know you have a Yuumi, your number 1 pick is going to be Ezreal, hands down. These 2 champions just go together like baby, carrots, and ranch, working seamlessly with each other's kits, able to completely take over a game once Ezreal gets 2 items. Next up, we have Senna. With Senna, you want to double down on her range and poke with Ezreal, Varus, or Ashe. Caitlyn also fits with this playstyle, but Cookie really only recommends picking Caitlyn with 1 support, which we'll see later as the other champions are just stronger at the moment. Moving on, we have the classic engage support, Leona. Leona is similar to Thresh with her kill setup, but is far more one-dimensional, so she synergizes with fewer ADCs, mainly Draven, MF, Aphelios, and Tristana for massive kill potential in lane. And next up, we have Nautilus, who is exactly the same. He's a pretty one-dimensional engage or kill lane support during lane phase, so once again, we have Draven, MF, Aphelios, and Tristana. Shifting gears, we have Morgana. The 2 main picks that you'll want to look to synergize with Morgana are Caitlyn and Varus. Both champions have CC and kill potential to follow up on a bind and create a devastating long-range lane duo as well. Jumping back to the engage supports, we have Blitzcrank. Now, pretty much any champion can work with Blitz, but once again, champions with damage or follow-up in lane like Draven, MF, Aphelios, and Tristana are great. Finally, the last popular support that we'll be covering is Lulu. As most of you probably know, Lulu excels alongside scaling hyper-carry ADCs like Kog'Maw, Twitch, and Vayne, who can fully take over a game with her support. So, here you can see the strong bot lane duos that we recommend. Once again, any of those blind pick champions that we looked at earlier are pretty much always strong, but if you have the luxury of picking what to pair with your support, these are some super strong options as well. If this feels like a lot of info, be sure to just screenshot this or have it open when you're in champ select so that you can always pick the best lane. Also, I know this doesn't cover every support out there, there are just too many. If you have any that you really want to know, be sure to drop a comment below and we'll be sure to let you know. Alright, next up, we have avoiding picking into matchups or team comps that just don't allow you to play the game. This is a pretty simple idea and will at times supersede lane synergy if the game is going to be truly unplayable for you. Examples of this are playing low range ADCs like Kai'Sa, Twitch, or Vayne against something like a Varus Karma lane that will just destroy you with range. So, if you see your support pick Lulu, even though Vayne is a good pick with Lulu, she's not the best pick that game, and you could probably play another champion that works with Lulu, like Ashe, to match the range of the Varus and Karma, or something like Ezreal that always works. Another example is Jhin. Even if you have a support that synergizes well with him, if the enemy team is full of tanks, the champion is essentially useless. And if the enemy team has a bunch of assassins and your support is Karma, it might seem like Ashe is a good fit to double down on range and poke, but it doesn't matter if you're dead all game. Picking something more mobile, like Ezreal, or longer range, like Ziggs, who can sit out of reach and build Zhonya's if he really needs to, would be a better plan. Also, as a quick aside, if you do find yourself playing into assassins, Cookie recommends keeping in mind that if you have a spare 650 gold, you can pick up a stopwatch and just sell it after you use it. This can really be a game-changing item that will allow you to win a crucial fight. Finally, we have the super simple idea of not overloading your team on either AD or AP. As we mentioned earlier, Cookie really does think it's essential to have some AP in your champion pool, so if you don't, it really is something worth spending time on learning. I know you've all had games with Talon mid, Graves jungle, Fiora top, and Senna support, where you quickly find yourself facing down 5 pairs of Ninja Tabi and a full armor build. This is a really easy way to just lose a game at draft, so we recommend adding Syndra or Ziggs to your champion pool. Neither champion is particularly difficult to play, and both can be blind picked safely. Alright, to wrap up this video, I want to quickly look at a few real champ select situations that Cookie ran into while playing solo queue, so we can quiz you on what you would pick, and you can see what he actually ended up playing. First up, we have this champ select here. Take a good chunk of time to look and think about what you would pick here. Great, so in this situation, Cookie went ahead and locked in Ashe to double down on range and poke with Karma, which has the potential to just demolish Vayne. And just to be clear, we're not saying that Ashe is the only good pick here. Once again, we have lots of blind pickable champs that can work in pretty much any situation. Ashe just works really well in this situation if you're comfortable playing her. Okay, here's the situation for our second champ select. Once again, take some time to think about what you would pick. So in this game, Cookie quickly locked in Ezreal. He has no information about who his support is or the enemy bot lane, so it's time for a god blind pick. And here's our third champ select for you to look at. Who would you pick here? Alright, so in this situation, Cookie was very happy to lock in Vayne. We mentioned earlier that Vayne and Lulu are a great combination. Vayne is also very good against Ornn, and Soraka is not a terribly punishing support to lane against, which is great for Vayne, who is weak early and short ranged. Now obviously Vayne is a somewhat difficult ADC to pull off, so if you're not confident or comfortable, then picking something safer or inside your comfort zone is pretty much always going to be better, which is an important point for this video. If you're bad at a pick, don't lock it in just because we say it's good in a situation. You'll always have to balance your champion pool with what's good. Anyway, moving on, here we have our next champ select. What would you pick here? Okay, so the most important thing here is that you recognize that your team needs AP with an AD mid, top, and jungle. In this game, Cookie opted to play Cassiopeia. Now, once again, like with Vayne, Cass is not the easiest champion to pilot, so other AP champions like Ziggs or Syndra are also viable choices. He went with the Snake because she's less countered by Windwall than Ziggs and Syndra are, And with a lot of melee champs that will be running at him, he has a good chance of landing some big ults. Alright, and that wraps it up for this guide to drafting as ADC. Hopefully this was helpful for anyone wondering what they should be playing, as ADC can be even more punishing than it already is if you pick the wrong champ at the wrong time. Once again, we encourage you to think about your champion pool and make sure that you have strong AP and blind pick options available to you, which will just completely stop you from losing games in champ select, which is what we really want to avoid. By the way, we released some crazy guides over at skillcapped, which are exclusive only to our subscribers. We have over 800 guides covering everything you need to know to rapidly improve. We also send our challengers into Elo Hell every week to see how they climb out of the most extreme scenarios with the worst teammates imaginable. All wrapped up into courses that you can watch right away. Oh, and if you don't significantly improve while using skillcapped, you get a full refund. So, what are you waiting for? Sign up today and escape Elo Hell. Anyway, thanks for watching, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.